Hello everyone, my name is Anna Schuneman and I'm a Natural Resources Specialist at the Minnesota DNR's Center for Aquatic Mollusk Programs. Today I'll be sharing some interesting trends we've been seeing over the past 20 years in a recovering mussel assemblage in a former dead zone of the Mississippi River in Pool 3 that also happens to be one of our higginsii reintroduction areas. As most of you probably know, the upper Mississippi River wasn't able to support much life up through the early 1980s because of pollution. One large factor was sewage being dumped directly into the river from the Twin Cities until more regulations were put in place, such as the Clean Water Act in 1972. The riverbed being covered in sewage sludge caused ammonia in the river to be very high and dissolved oxygen to be very low, which is a lose-lose situation for aquatic life. Here you can see dissolved oxygen levels in the 1920s were far below our present-day standards. But by the late 80s, because of increased regulations, we saw dissolved oxygen levels return to high enough measurements to support aquatic life. It wasn't until the late 80s that those really high ammonia levels started to drop below the chronic ammonia toxicity threshold for freshwater mussels as well. When these pools were surveyed by Sam Fuller in the late 70s, there were very few mussels upstream of Lake Pepin in Pool 4, so even with these improvements in water quality, it would still be an uphill battle to recovery. Thankfully, water quality has continued to improve since then, and the urban Mississippi now supports fish and freshwater mussels. Because of their life history, though, some mussel species have been slow to recover, so the Minnesota DNR and other partners started artificial propagation and reintroduction programs for particular species, one of those being the federally endangered Lampsilis higginsii. As part of that program funded by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, a mussel bed with high species richness on stable substrate was identified in the lower portion of Pool 3, just downstream of the Twin Cities, as a good spot for higginsii reintroduction in 2001. The bed was in the southern end of Sturgeon Lake, which is a historic floodplain lake of the Mississippi, and from 2003 to 2010, the Minnesota DNR and partners released over 6,800 higginsii subadults there. And from quantitatively sampling it 5 times, starting in 2006, we have seen progressively stronger evidence that this has been a successful reintroduction effort. Since 2010, we have seen a drastic increase in mussel density and species richness at this site. As you can see in the bar graph here, since a low point in 2010 with a density of about 8 mussels per square meter, average density in the bed has increased to 27 mussels per square meter, and species richness has increased from 12 to 22 species present with fairly consistent sampling sizes ranging from 74 to 90 quadrats. These trends are pretty incredible and are very unique among our long-term monitoring locations on the Mississippi and other rivers. There are probably quite a few factors influencing this drastic increase in species density and species richness, but from what we know, physical factors like the stable substrate and the location of the bed on the lower portion of the pool, the fact that the bed is located in an area where flows slow down and form a sort of back eddy, and even a steep slope on the one edge of the bed that may be an attractive place for host fish species to hang out may all be having a large impact in addition to more general factors like improved water quality. These different theories are supported by an influx of young mussels, particularly Transilla truncata, that we have seen in some sampling years. And while these different factors are playing a positive role in the bed overall, they're probably also impacting our ability to see the success of our reintroduction. In 2020, we completed 10 20-minute time searches in our designated polygon and 2 outside of it, and we found quite a few older marked individuals that we had released there, but we also found 2 5-year-old female higginsii. These are the first higginsii we have found that are too young to have been released, and they indicate that natural recruitment is occurring, which is the ultimate goal of any mussel reintroduction. Overall, Sturgeon Lake has met all criteria to be an essential habitat area for higginsii since 2017, which will make it easier for us to continue to be funded for this monitoring. And as we continue that monitoring, we hope to incorporate additional sampling techniques to get a more accurate idea of what physical factors are influencing mussel density here, and this information will help inform our choice of new reintroduction sites as we continue to work towards endangered species recovery in multiple watersheds. Thank you for listening, and are there any questions?